Hello, welcome to Discussing Tabletop for June 23rd, 2018. That was, of course, our 80th episode. Ooh.
Wow, I feel old.
Approaching that big 100. So, once again, Worm can't join us this week. He's off week. He's mentioned. I believe if you follow him on his Discord or his... I don't know if he said it on his Twitter. He said it on his Discord about him going off. That's why he put off both EGs this week. Anyway, but rather than dwell on who is not here, but let's talk about what we're here for, and that's tabletop. So today for you, we have an interesting docket of topics to discuss. We, of course, are going to start a little bit of news, starting with first, we're going to begin with talking about Starfinder. They put out the number 6 in the advance, and we were talking about how number 5 had like 12 Dyson spheres. Where the crap go from here? Let's talk about that.
Empire Bone.
Yeah, I don't think it's like... I think we had the ramp up and we just died. But we'll talk about that. Pathfinder 2.0, they've got some stuff to talk about, you might want to learn about. That makes it more interesting. I want to talk some news from Fantasy Flight. First off, they're putting out a 30th anniversary edition old Star Wars PG. So that would have been 1988 now?
Yes, yeah. But it says it was originally published in 1987, so...
They're bringing it now. They're putting out a version of it. I'm like, okay, you're competing with your... we'll talk about that. We also want to talk about how Fantasy Flight is basically dropped off Android the Netrunner. They're not going to do any more of them. That's an interesting thing. It's a game that me have both played. And then I'm going to end up with talking about a little bit of Magic the Gathering. The core set... we're not talking about the cards right now. I want to talk about the fact that they're doing something a little different that's a little bit more interesting. They are effectively that they have 5 planeswalker decks instead of the normal 2. Okay, we'll discuss that. If that's like... It's an interesting direction, but it's a direction they should take with core sets. Again, it hints on the past stuff. Talk about that one. Why don't we, of course, start with Starfinder? So, if you had been with us previously, we discussed the fact that they jumped the shark in their 5th adventure of the Dead Sun's adventure path. That's what I feel like they did. So, in the Dead Sun's adventure path, number 5, you got to basically save the universe by stopping an evil undead army from taking control of this weapon that uses 12 Dyson spheres. Which type of spheres?
It's the Stellar Degenerator.
Yes. The Stellar Generator. So now we leave off where you've managed to take control of it, and there's a fleet of undead ready to take it over. And it's like, so you're the same location, but now you have to deal with, an undead army there or something?
You have to blow up the super weapon and escape the undead army.
I mean, I feel like that could have just been the last one. The last adventure, It really kind of feels like it could have just been, we did this. It's the same thing. Because you're dealing with the flagship and the corpse fleet and their flagship and stuff, and you've already sort of prevented them from taking over the super weapon. You're trying to prevent them from taking over the super weapon again. It's like Weekend at Bernie's 2.
Pog form.
I know, it's back in Pog form. Why do you have to do the same thing twice? I guess it's a way that you don't have to ramp up the fact that we already have the 12 Dyson Sphere super weapon. It's the same thing. I don't know. Now we're blowing it up.
Yeah. Why don't we just use it to destroy the fleet?
But then it would maybe fall into the wrong hands at some point in time.
Well,
Oh, no.
No. You just use it to destroy the fleet of undead and then blow it up.
That seems like a better idea. But no, you're just gonna blow it up first or something? I don't know.
Hey, I got this super weapon. I mean, there's guys chasing us. What should I do with it?
Yeah, Man, I don't know. This is like... I think it would be really cool to play. I'm never going to argue against that. These last two adventures seemed like they'd be really awesome to play. But when you just sit back and look at it and any kind of, like, analytic side, you're like, what?
Well, also, I'm surprised this is only up to 11th level characters.
That's where you start, yes.
Wait, so...
When they say that, they mean that you have to be 11th level at the start of the adventure. Which, unfortunately, I doubt...
It's the last one out of 6, and you only made it to 11 so far.
Yeah, so what level will you end up at? Like, 13? Maybe if you're lucky, 14 or 15? You're not that high a level for whatever ridiculous crap this is.
Yeah. But that's my point is, you've run through 5 other adventures and only gotten to 11th level.
Yeah. So you're stealing the entire thing is you're stealing the enemy's flagship and then piloting it into the super weapon in order to detonate them both. So you're basically going onto the big Star Destroyer and being like, bitches, we're gonna ram it. But you're taking it over. It's the flagship. How many undead? And they're undead. They don't need to breathe. They don't need to eat. How many are probably in there? How are you taking this over and then doing the entire flagship?
I don't remember all the rules for Starfinder, but I'm pretty sure that means you're also going to have to be fighting undead who are unencumbered by space outfits.
Yeah, they're probably
spacesuits.
They probably don't have
and
oxygen.
You're going to have to be encumbered by them.
Yeah, because you need oxygen. There's a ridiculous level to this entire storyline just by what they say here. And granted, we're only going by like some of the summaries and reviews that we can see. You can't... we'd have to open up the book to get the exact details. But the fact is, this is what they're telling us. So this has to be at least a level of what there is. If there's some kind of like trick to it, maybe their flagship has oxygen for some kind of reason.
Oh, they're going to 13th to 14th level.
Okay.
That you'll end.
Alright, so great. 13, 14, that's still not great, but it's still better than nothing.
Especially for 6 adventure books.
Oh my god. Yeah, I know. Sometimes these adventure paths just don't give you levels. I've noticed that. Which is...
Right.
It's not necessarily bad. I would like an adventure... I know there's like very few that take you from very high levels, and I would like more of them because that seems like an interesting thing because it feels like you're getting more accomplishments.
I miss the old days of D&D of games going to like 20th and beyond.
I mean, beyond is always a difficult thing, and rarely have we actually gone beyond.
But I'm just saying, I miss those days.
Mm-hmm.
But, like I said, if I was a character in this game, I'd just be like, could we not take over this flagship and just use the super weapon on the ship and then blow the super weapon up?
Maybe it's difficult to blow the super weapon up, and that's why you want the flagship, because that thing is, like, whatever
Drive
reason.
it into a sun.
The super weapon?
Yes.
The super weapon is a bunch of suns!
Drive it into a bigger sun.
Your super weapon is like a station and then 12 suns.
Blow up the station by driving it into a sun.
But I think it's like stuck in between all the other suns and it doesn't move. I guess you like shoot different parts of the universe or galaxy.
Okay, take over one of the other ships that isn't the flagship.
Uh-huh.
And ram it into it.
Maybe that's not big enough. Maybe the flagship's like you're talking about, like, like something like much bigger in comparison to something all the other ships which are much smaller.
Okay, have an engineer on board who can figure out how to blow up the station.
I mean, there are possibilities.
There has to be a way.
I'm not arguing with you that there isn't possibilities, and those might not be possibilities. But I get how that maybe their entire idea is, this is the easy way, we don't have a lot of time. That this is the biggest thing with
I just think the easy way is a flagship full of dead.
I know it's terrible. It's not really the easiest, but maybe because of time constraints, it might be like the engineer might say like, yes, I could blow this up, but I'm going to need to do like all these different things that would require it to make sure to detonate everything properly. You know, that kind of thing. That would be more time consuming than the fleet you have to deal with is. So I understand how, like, yes, there theoretically should be easier ways, but there are ways in-game to explain why, yes, this is the option you have to take. It's still stupid. My God. I'm sorry, they jumped the shark with Adventure 6 or 5. And now I just don't feel like whatever they do here is gonna be anything as cool as, you know, taking over or securing 12 freaking Dyson spheres.
Yes.
As we're saying, what the fuck can you move to now? 13 Dyson spheres? And what are they gonna do with the next adventures? This is like, I think this is like one of those things that I feel like even normal Pathfinder occasionally does, is they have like your jump the shark moments. Like
this one's so grandiose that how can you top it?
I feel like there are some of them that are very big like that. Like Rise of the Rune Lords, even though I never finished it. Yes, 26 spheres. Thank you, Unfunny One. Is you have to like just prevent a Rune Lord from being resurrected. I haven't played the final adventure, so I don't know if you actually fight him or not, but like that's an okay thing. Like the Carrion Crown, that was an interesting one, because yes, they were trying to resurrect the Whispering Tyrant, but in episode 5 you basically defeated their options of resurrecting the Whispering Tyrant, and then you go and defeat the guy that was plotting against it in an epic battle, which he was not going to be able to do it, but he tries to himself and he fails. It just becomes a really powerful enemy for you to fight. So yes, there is this grandiose threat, but you handle it and then handle the people that are fighting it, and I feel like that's a more controlled thing. That feels like it has like big, overwhelming plot, but would they have succeeded anyway? Maybe not. So I feel like that's why some of them are better, but others are just over the top.
Yeah.
And this one is definitely, for a first adventure, over the top. You know, you're basically blowing up a Death Star in the first one. You can't blow up a Death Star every time. Where do you go from Death Stars? I mean, you could.
The Empire keeps rebuilding them.
I mean, they did build 3 super weapons.
Although, if you think about it, killing off the second Death Star was a bit of a dick move, because you still had all those workers in there who were just trying to get a paycheck. And you blew them up.
Yeah, well, I mean, they don't have that many engineers anymore. You got rid of like half the engineers in the galaxy.
Yeah, but I'm not even saying the engineers. I'm saying just the workers. You know, I'm just a construction worker, you know, trying to get paid. And
yeah, I'm like welding some metal together, you know, in space. I'm in a spacesuit welding metal, building a giant sphere of doom.
And now I get blown up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that just ruined your day.
I mean, I'm pretty sure getting blown up ruins your day anyways, but yeah. It always does. So yeah, the super weapon conundrum is definitely an interesting aspect of this to talk about, but I do feel like it peters out just because you can't compare to like the ramp up the last one did. And where the heck are they going to go with in next? See, everyone hated the prequels because they didn't have super weapons. Okay, I can agree to that one. You needed at least... The thing is, you only needed one super weapon, and then they're trying to rebuild the super weapon. I mean, I guess in the next Star Wars movie, if they're trying to rebuild their super weapon again, it fits with the entire storyline. You know, of like...
Hey, there wasn't a super weapon in Solo.
No, and that's why it was a good movie. Anyway, no. No. The prequels was just... it's not super weapons, it's George Lucas. Sorry, George Lucas.
Like I said, we could go back and blow up Jar Jar.
This is an entirely different argument. My argument is that, when George Lucas has people that actually talk to him and give him opinions, they come up with better ideas. On the other hand... if
George Lucas originally wanted to make Yoda a monkey in a mask.
See? And then someone talked him down from it. But on the prequels, they didn't talk him down. He basically is like, I'm free to do whatever the heck I want. And thus...
that is the problem. And that's why we're thankful to George Lucas for selling it off to Disney.
Probably also thankful for George Lucas to stop being around. But that's besides the point.
That's part of selling it off to Disney.
Yeah.
Because now other people can make good things with his idea.
Yep.
Without him interfering.
Yes, technically it was being worked on during Solo. We just didn't hear about it. Which is fine.
Yes.
It's fine. Anyway, so we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. I am curious to see where the next adventure path takes them, and where the culmination of that one is. If we can take a step back and have like a little less galactic threats and maybe just more like big threats, like a planetary threat. A planetary threat that if you go and eventually take care of the course of 6 adventures, that seems fine. Because, yes, Starfinder's on a different scale than Pathfinder was. Pathfinder, planetary threats are all that you got. And so, yes, those could get tiresome. Starfinder, a planetary threat, because you do have this level of technology and travel and you can deal with it. It sounds...
You could also have a solar system threat.
Yeah, but...
like, okay, say a big baddie, is trying to blow up the central star.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. But I mean, like... we can ramp things down a little bit and find a balancing act. I feel like Starfinder can be a little bit more, in quotations, grandiose than Pathfinder can, because it's the difference between super threats in fantasy and super threats in sci-fi are very different, Fantasy, it doesn't need to be as big of, a threat over a bigger region to be like a doomsday than in sci-fi. So
yeah,
it'll be interesting to, see how they kind of go with this one. Definitely. All right, but anyway, I did want to, though, talk a little bit about Pathfinder 2.0, because we have heard about a couple of things. They've been talking about conditions a little bit, first off, which is a very interesting one, because it feels like they're trying to rebalance them, and the fact is, I almost feel like, just kind of thinking about how they're talking about them, they want to make them, I guess, closer to how 5th edition was doing them, because 5th edition does conditions very well. I feel like they do them better than how they do it with Pathfinder. Pathfinder's still got their conditions that are very legacy of 3.5. And though they're not bad, because of course they did improve upon them, it still has a lot of the problems of 3.5 echoed into the way the conditions are, that there's a lot of them, and there's a lot of weird ones, and simplifying it is not a bad thing. Now, granted, when they're talking about them, they're focusing on like things like blinded and fatigued a little bit more, and kind of the differences between big and small ones, like how slowed, how it affects you versus haste, frightened, how it's just getting you -2 to some stuff, and that frightened conditions reduce. You kind of get that initial fear, and you get reduction. So actually, I like that a little better how they're doing fear, because you still have that fear that you kind of get. You sure frightened for a little bit, and they got rid of like the panicked or shaken, because they don't. It's like, I guess there's certain like fear effects which could cause you to run away, but those would be their effects on their own. I'm assuming if we see them, rather than like
a separate effect.
Yeah, like a condition that's just like this. it feels more organic, because yes, I might be afraid of something, but you know, if I'm a hero or adventurer, I could probably overcome that. You know.
Oh no, I'm under my pee my pants condition.
Yeah, and like sickness is interesting because yes, you can start recovering from it, but you have to concentrate on doing stuff to do that. You know, it's interesting. Yeah. I thought that the cowering was like its own thing too. Like the like Pathfinder had like 4 different levels of fear before, and if we just stick with like 1, and then maybe like have some specialty points in time for anything else, I think that would be much better. Yeah, I think that's what they're aiming for. So yeah, definitely they're like flat-footed. You still have a -2 penalty to AC. So now if you have like awesome dexterity, you still keep it. I think that's pretty cool. It's a universal sort of. So it's flat-footed always punished people with higher dex a lot more than it punished anybody else. You know?
Yeah,
and that's one of the advantages of having a high dex. So now that's just a -2 for everyone. Great.
Yeah, that seems a lot more fair.
Yeah, because it doesn't completely negate the advantages that I, as a high dex character, got for having a high dex instead of that high strength. Cool. Yeah, there's a lot of improvements that they seem to be doing to the conditions that I'm very happy about, that I think will be interesting to test out. Do we want to just handle the other thing for it, the archetypes for all? Maybe we'll talk about that in this one. I don't necessarily want to handle all the different classes, because they've been talking about a bunch of different ones, and I feel like playing some of those might be a great way of doing it.
Monk, barbarian, wizard.
So they want to make archetypes more integral process of the entire thing. And I like the idea of making an archetype that more than one class can access to it. That's kind of interesting. How they're looking to them. That's a little more challenging, though, too, because you have to think about it. How is it fitting in with everything? So archetypes in Pathfinder playtest are saying they're going to do a series of feats you can take in place of your class feats. Basically, you get, because it seems like they're doing kind of class feats also. So yes, right. we have to kind of now hint on that entire thing, that you get specific class feats to your classes that make it that you can modify and customize your characters a little bit more, which seems like an interesting way of going about it, because that's like that seems very much so customizable and keeping it like relatively interesting.
Yeah.
I like how
it's cool, because it's like sometimes you want to play a character with a splash of something, but you don't really want to lose that whole level.
Yeah. And so like you'll have your base abilities, and then we have like for a good example, like just because they were talking about the monks, and they were talking about some like with monk feats, they had like key abilities that you'd go along with them that you'd learn. That like you expand your attacks, special martial arts techniques, entire fighting styles, and key powers are monk feats. So you have a kind of choice of the ones you're doing. Like Stunning Fist would be a monk feat now that you kind of learn. Yeah. So you'd use it with your unarmed strike and kind of stuff like that. So
I don't like that that's a feat.
Well, feat in quotations, because they always had certain like things for monks that they've had. I think it was a feat, though, actually.
I thought it was just a class ability.
For 5th edition,
you had to yeah.
There was a Stunning Fist that's part of the unarmed strike feat chain, and then you could also
I have my old 3.5 book right here.
Oh, you're getting another 3.5.
I'm just curious what it was back then. Because that's the one
ability. That was when it was an ability. When it came to Pathfinder, rather they just said you got certain bonus feats at different point in time. Now definitely they did get Stunning Fist as a special ability. Specifically, they mentioned but it's a bonus feat they get at first level.
Okay, because why wouldn't you take Studied Fist?
And then they improve their Stunning Fist as a monk is what they did originally.
Okay.
So
but why wouldn't you take that?
I know. But they automatically got that one as a bonus feat, along with all the like feat choices they make, and then they get other special abilities that enhance that feat and the Stunning Fist abilities that they get over the course of it. Like at 20th level, you can paralyze targets with your Stunning Fist. So
right.
it's more that you could do using the feat. Now it's just like I think from the way that they're talking about it is that like I get this feat here, and maybe I would take a feat later on that would give me Stunning Fist paralysis, but I'd have more feats per like level kind of things. And like it's like they say
right. You could customize more. That okay, maybe I'm not interested in paralysis. Maybe I'd rather up something else.
Yeah, like with the rogue, how they're saying they get a skill feat every level. That specifically. I like that they're making it more customizable, but simplifying it at the same time, which is a very interesting direction to take it. I think that's a direction that makes it a little more challenging in a way, but also if they can pull it off right, will be pretty awesome, because that'll make them different from 5th edition. 5th edition is very standard, I have to say. Yes, you get to choose like a path for most of your pretty much every class has pretty much like a path you choose, and it gives you certain abilities. This one, with making it that like there's a bunch of different feats you take at levels that customize you, and then having like archetype feats, like you want to take these feats if you're taking this archetype, kind of things.
Right.
Like for the archetypes for all, they mentioned for the pirate, like at 2, 4, 6, and 6, you get things. There's an alternate one for 6, and then there's one for 8. It looks like. Actually, no. The prestige archetypes at 6 and 8 they mentioned too. Sorry, it's 2, 4, 6 for pirate.
Armity.
Which I think those are probably the minimum level you have to take them for adding them into your archetype, or that's when you're supposed to take them. I don't know how it's going to exactly work. We're gonna have to see a lot of it. But it's an interesting thing that they're like saying like, as long as you meet like trained in acrobatics, sailing, lore, and dexterity 12, whatever class I am, I could be a pirate. That'd be pretty cool. That's
I got
like,
my sea legs.
Yeah, or your pirate dedication, where you get a bunch of advantages on boat.
Why wouldn't you?
No, it's cool. It's an interesting way of looking at it. That then you have to have pirate dedication trained in athletics. When in the athletics check to swim, you treat your result as a critical success. That's just like okay.
That's interesting.
And you can hold your breath for a number of rounds equal to double your Constitution score. Does not increase using a deep breath action. So you don't have to use an action to hold your breath. And the boarding action, where you can kind of like do like the pirate swing aboard, ships and stuff like that. It's kind of like cool.
Well, it's also interesting with the dedications. Like you cannot select another dedication feat until you gain 2 other feats from the pirate archetype.
So basically, you have to take the pirate archetype, and then you can get a different like dedication if you want.
Yeah. Like Grey Maiden.
Well, that actually is the a different archetype there. That's a different.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the Grey Maiden dedication.
Yeah, it's a different. That's what I'm saying. It said you can't take another.
Yeah,
dedication.
But they don't. I don't think they show all the feats for the pirate one too.
Yeah. No. Well, I don't think they have it all fleshed out 100% yet.
Because they are working on it. But no, I think the archetypes for all, and just the archetypes, the way that they're handling them, are very unique and interesting. And I like how I feel like they're going in a really interesting direction that might work very well, because they're keeping with a lot of what made Pathfinder, but they're taking an interesting influence of stuff from both 5th edition and, to a degree, 4th edition, if you think about it. Because 4th edition was all about the powers. But rather than now, like, attack powers, which is, I think, what they went that made it feel very MMO, if you're taking it that it's, like, a lot of, like, special ability options, and not having
it adds flavor and not just, oh, here's some text.
Yeah.
This is what you can do.
Because the fact is, if you look at a lot of these abilities, they're not combat abilities per se.
Right.
And I think that's what makes it really cool. You know, they're flavor abilities, basically. And I think that's where Pathfinder might shine with having the breadth of options. Because that's a lot of what Pathfinder's about is, what do you want to do? Choose from a billion races, classes, archetypes, etc., feats. You got a lot of choices.
It's a choice buffet.
That's a great way of saying it. Choice buffet. Buffet of choices. Delicious. Okay. That was, It's
a buffet of choices.
I have said that before, and I haven't said it in a while. So let's walk away from that one there. The buffet of choices.
Buffets. Mm-hmm. They're delicious, boss.
Wait, why am I your boss right now?
Well, you're on the channel and I'm on it.
Okay. Right. I'll give it to you. I thought you were quoting something, and I'm like, what?
Kind of not.
All right, then. All right, why don't we...
I'm serious and crazy.
Yeah, I noticed... Well, I mean, we are New Year crazy, but that... Besides the point. Why don't we move on, though, and talk about Fantasy Flight and the 1987 Star Wars RPG book. Because that's an interesting one that they are putting out here for us to see. So, it's old? I mean...
So are we.
Yes. It is accurate that neither of us are technically older than it.
You mean both of us are technically older than it?
Yes. What I said...
You said neither of us are technically older than it.
Whatever, English. Alright. That was a bad one. Alright, so we're older than this. Yay. There we go.
Back in our day, we played this Star Wars.
I was not old enough to play this Star Wars.
I probably would have been old enough, but I didn't get into role-playing until high school, so...
Yeah, God. Alright. So, I mean, this is a very interesting thing, that they are putting it out for people that, I guess, liked it, or haven't played it, or are wanting to try the legacy of Star Wars. I mean, it was the West End Games did this version of it back in '87. And it's a wealth of information about Star Wars that the fans were happy to get. And you really can't find it anywhere, this ancient game.
It's not ancient. Stop trying to make me feel old.
People are age older. It's a 30-year-old RPG that's very old for RPGs.
Yes. Not the oldest, though.
No, but it's old for an RPG.
Yes.
Anyway, so it's a collection of information. It's been repackaged with a kind of modern thing. It's got many of the starships, vehicles, droids, creatures, aliens that this one imparted originally. It's like, how does an X-Wing work? What's inside a lightsaber? A lot of these things that were put together specifically for this thing.
Plasma. That's what's inside a lightsaber.
And a kyber crystal?
Yes.
Kyber crystal and, like, controlled plasma and some other stores. I don't know, remember. So I feel like, I don't know how much of this is the actual, like, role-playing section of it.
It has the role-playing game core book.
Yeah, but I feel
Player
like...
section, gaming section, adventure section.
Okay, so it does have the adventure section and stuff, too.
And only 144 pages.
It's not a lot. But I feel like... I'm curious as to the...
I'm guessing it's a probably very simplistic system.
Yes. They have the role-playing game book and the source book out, though, technically.
Yes.
So the source book probably has a lot more of the basic information that probably could still be useful today, because it's like all the storeways.
Yeah, I think the source book is basically like schematics, stuff like that. The role-playing book is what has the player section, game master, and adventure, and that's the one that's only 144 pages. Oh, the source book is also 144 pages.
What's really interesting is that, like, reading this here, that some of the things that they named in here, they came up with names for, and then it was adapted to canon for Star Wars.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, like the Twi'lek, the slave girl that was with Java, the original one, I can't describe anything anymore. Whatever.
I know what you're talking. The green one.
Yeah.
They got tossed into the pit.
Mm-hmm. But, like, they named the race there, and they were later adapted as canon. So, I mean, like, this has a legacy for Star Wars anyway.
Well, yeah, the source book is divided into 15 chapters: general spacecraft systems, starfighters, combat ships, space transports, droids, repulse shift vehicles, Imperial ground assault vehicles, aliens, creatures, general equipment, lightsabers, stormtroopers, rebel bases, Imperial garrisons, heroes, and villains.
That's a lot of crap.
In 144 pages.
Yeah. That's the thing is, like...
But that's also basically that the source book is just background information.
Yeah. And granted, like, some of this might have been updated since then, definitely, but I'm sure, like, the starfighters and, like, combat stuff, a lot of that stuff, though, you know, it's great sources of information just knowing about it. More that, like, you know, maybe they haven't reprinted everything in the newer stuff. And
the source book might be something... Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Well, that's fine. Go ahead.
I was going to say, the source book might be something that even a non-role player, but a Star Wars fan might want to own.
Yeah, that's true. And the fact that this stuff is a legacy in Star Wars, since it, like, inspired a bunch of stuff in more, you know, as Star Wars came. It was a source of things back in the day.
Yeah.
And that's very interesting, that, you know, it created canon, it was used for, like, you know, references by people for developing a lot of stuff that came to, you know, be important in the overall canon of even the expanded stuff, which some of that expanded stuff is still canon because they've put it back as canon. But, like, even that when it wasn't, you know, anymore, the stuff that's gone, it's still big parts of the Star Wars fandom.
Yeah, and it's only, and actually the price isn't bad, $60 for both books.
Yeah, that's actually not bad at all. I kind of like that they did this. This is a really interesting thing. They've hit that, like, they've gone, you know, this is their 30th anniversary version, and technically it's a little over the 30th anniversary. It's probably within the 30th year. I'm guessing it came out, like, 87 late in the year, so we're technically still 30th, you know?
Right.
But, yeah, I guess I think it would have been better if they came out exactly on the anniversary. You know, that would be really cool.
Yeah, but there could have been hold up in printing or something that caused the delay.
And yeah, and maybe, like, they originally were aiming for more like one of the Star Wars, like, solo things, like, you know, Solo coming out or May the 4th or something, you know.
And Solo coming out makes really sense since it's based, you know, off the original trilogy.
Yeah. So, no, it's very interesting to see this out. I think it's really cool. I'm glad that they're doing it, and I'm guessing we're not going to see much more, but this is definitely something that if you either played this game back in the day, you maybe want to try it out for yourself, this version of Star Wars RPG, because this is like, I've known two versions of the Star Wars RPG, and this is not one of them. I knew the one that was based on D20, and I didn't know about all the details on playing it, but I knew about it, and I know a little bit about the current one that Fantasy Flight does, you know?
Right. Oh, now you know about two of the current ones Fantasy Flight is doing.
Well, this is technically not current, but they're coming out with a legacy version of it.
Well, you know what I mean.
Yeah. Cool. All right, so if you're interested in this and a little bit of legacy, go ahead and check it out for yourself. It's seeing the kind of legacy of games and stuff like this is very cool. All right, why don't we move on to the other thing that Fantasy Flight is doing that we want to talk about is...
Well, more is not doing more.
Yeah, I guess not doing is Android Netrunner. They're ending it. And this is a very interesting thing because not to be rude to Fantasy Flight, because they do a lot of great things, but I kind of felt like they milk everything until the end of time. I mean, it kind of feels like that they do that sometimes. I'm just saying, they do, like, they have how many expansions to their Arkham Horror card game, and their Legacy of the Five Rings card game, and their Star Wars card game, and their Game of Thrones card game, and they play them in seasons of stuff that they come out with special things for ways to play them, and all that kind of crap. And I'm never says it's bad, because they've cornered this area of the market that not a lot of people do this type of game, the semi-collectible card game. We don't see it as big as with Fantasy Flight, so big on them. Awesome. But again, there was always that cynic of me of like, don't they do this until the end of time? So, and maybe it's the oldest one because it's 2012. Now,
yeah, I didn't realize it had even been out as long because I only found it a few years ago.
Oh, this is interesting, which I didn't know about. Just reading a little bit more.
There was a precursor Netrunner in 1996.
Because the thing is, this is Wizards. Wizards has let Fantasy Flight put it out. So maybe the reason that it's ending is something happens with Wizards and them.
Yeah, true. Wizards could be like, yeah, we want our property back.
The thing is, they don't talk about that. So it's hard to say whether or not this is directly because of Wizards. And they
at the end of the article, it does say they did reach out to Wizards and they didn't want to comment.
Okay.
Or no, for the comment. Reach out to Wizards of the Coast for comment, and we'll update the post if we hear back.
So we don't. We might hear about what's going on. We don't know if it's on Fantasy Flight's side or Wizards' side. And that's a hard thing to say. But it is 6 years, and the last on October 22nd, 2018, Android Netrunner card game products will no longer be offered for sale. So, and they have one final stop to make, the one final deluxe expansion, featuring a card for every faction. Cool on them. I'm sure you can still find it in game stores for a while, but it'll be kind of discontinued in game stores. But, yeah, that's an interesting one.
That sounds like then it would be something that, like, Wizards is stopping them then, because if they're just, not allowing sales, that sounds different. I'm going to let you riff for a second. I got to run for a second.
Okay, yeah. So, I mean, I'm curious as to why this relationship broke down. I'm sure because Wizards produces a lot of stuff on their own, but this is not a kind of product that they've produced in a long time. You think about like what Wizards have produced over the years. Wizards were the original ones that did Vampire the Eternal Struggle. Wizards were the original one to do Pokemon. Both of those were taken over by other groups afterwards. And yes, if they did like a Netrunner game originally, and then Android Netrunner came about, I don't know. That, they've had a lot of experience and they've built it and they have a lot of products for it. And seeing it kind of go away, I'm just curious as to why. Like, I would understand Fantasy Flight if they were the ones behind it. Maybe they were retiring it for whatever reason. But again, it doesn't feel necessarily like Fantasy Flight with their modus operandi with a lot of this stuff. Again, they play things till the end of time. Yeah. Yeah, Fantasy Flight's closing it down. It's just trying to find a little bit more news about what's going on with it. Like Joe's thing of that, they're reaching out to Wizards about it. That's a great thing to hear about. Yeah, why? Okay, let's see if I can get you a little bit of insight here. Just, as I get a drink of water here. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah, the license agreement reached its conclusion. Great. So that's the basic thing of it. and I'm guessing they couldn't renegotiate. So it's as simple as that. That's simple, but also very difficult, because you have to think about it, that Enter the Netrunner, because it's a license agreement, means that Wizards had to have been earning a lot of money on the products. So maybe Android Netrunner has been failing as of late, or not as lucrative as they want it to be. So as licensing is running out, they're renegotiating for it. They might want more money to make it more worth their while. And if they couldn't, that if Fantasy Flight was not willing to put up that much or something, or maybe Fantasy Flight felt like, I feel like something had been going on with the license that caused the renewal to end. And Richard Garfield was involved in this game. Damn, man, I didn't even realize that one. But they're talking about that one. Ah, man, that's kind of cool. You know, I feel like this is an interesting one, and it's kind of sad to see it go. Yeah, the Netrunner CCG was discontinued, and then it was an LCG for a while, and this was a way for it to return. And perhaps one day it'll return again. So if you're a fan of the Netrunner, Android Netrunner series, I'm sure we're not going to see the end of the entire setting, because it's basically Shadowrun. I'm sorry, Android Netrunner was basically Shadowrun the card game without actually being Shadowrun, because they came up with their own things. But the basic overall plot of, like, runner types versus corporate types, which is what the game was effectively Shadowrun. So this game has been effectively Shadowrun. So maybe that's another reason that Shadowrun has had its own resurgence a little bit, and that I can't remember the studio. Whatever studio controls it now is putting pressure on Wizards and Fantasy Flight. So with the renewal of the contract, that might be another reason why that they've taken a step away. It's like it could be this combination of reasons that could easily drive back them wanting to keep with this. Just as a little more analyzing the information here. And finding another news article that's talking about some things. Yes. I read up on this to a degree, but I don't check every news article, so finding a couple of extra ones here helps me out. Now, Joe had a couple of news articles different than mine, apparently, that he found here, because I didn't see anything about the one I was about reaching out to Wizards at all. So, anyway. Yeah. Without a license agreement, and with whatever pressures has been going on, or whatever situations have been going on, whether it's pressure from the Shadowrun people, or lack of money problems, or maybe Fantasy Flight and Wizards just couldn't agree on anything. For whatever reason, Android Netrunner is dying. It's going away. And we might see some more Netrunner in the future. We might not, but it was a fun game. Challenging. Difficult. There were some problems with it that I saw, but fun. And the problems I'm going to talk about, I'll keep that brief. Certain corporations versus certain runners, one or the other side had a distinct advantage. It always felt like certain ones were more suitable for each other, and if you didn't have that combination, you were probably going to win outright, and if you had something that they were complementary, they could fight against each other pretty well. So, welcome back. I'll wait till he's got his headphones on. Hey, welcome back. I can't hear you. You're muted. Welcome back.
Hi.
Yeah, so I've come to the conclusion that there's a couple of possibilities, because yes, the license agreement was not renewed. It reached its conclusion. They didn't say whether there was more negotiation, so what I'm thinking of is it was either A, maybe it wasn't as lucrative anymore, so Wizards wanted more money or something that pushed that Fantasy Flight couldn't produce. Maybe it just wasn't lucrative on Fantasy Flights, so they didn't want to pay as much anyway for the same agreement, so that would have also done it. So it could have been money.
Right.
Also, because Android Netrunner is basically Shadowrun light, it's got a lot of themes from Shadowrun. Yeah. And yes, I know some of those themes are pretty universally cyberpunk, and cyberpunk in general as a genre has a bunch of them, but still, a lot of stuff was pretty close to Shadowrun, so maybe that pressures from Catalyst Studios might have existed there too. So there have been a lot of combinations that have caused that whatever license was expiring, they didn't renew it.
It's an interesting game, but
as I was saying too, the thing that we discovered while playing it is that certain corporations and certain runners do not stack up right. You get ones that have a good shot against each other, and you have ones that have just pure advantage against the other.
Right. Well, it's not just that, but it's also the fact that it's only a 2-player game.
Yes.
It's a one-on-one deck building game, and that makes it a little limiting as well.
Yeah, I'll agree. And I think that's some of the limiting factors in some of those semi-collectible card games that Fantasy Flight does. That there's more. I don't know if all of them are 2-player, but I know that there's a bunch of them are primarily 2-player.
Like I would have liked to seen a possible mechanic, maybe with like optional cards for the for the corporations to maybe boost them up for being able to handle maybe multiple runner attacks.
That would be cool.
That would have been something that I really would have liked about it, because then it could be, oh, okay, so it's still, blah against one, but make it, that you could add another runner and, have some cooperation between them against the big baddie.
Yeah, no, that'd be cool. There might have been fan rules out there of these things, though, too, is the only thing I can't. Right. I never really dove deep into special ways that people came up, because people can come up with those things.
Yeah. Fortunately.
But anyway, hey, quickly, for 3 seconds, you can enjoy Magnum Android, Magnum Opus. Anyway, now that that's not needed, and I forgot to do that, let's move on, though. Let's talk about our last topic for today. I want to talk about a little bit about Magic, because this is something weird that I just noticed. There's some interesting things about the cards, sure, but Planeswalker decks, there's 5 of them, and that's I think that's how's the way I want to say this? Granted, each one is for a different color. Cool. They've done stuff like that before in Magic. Let me see if I can see a nice image. Oh, I got a great image here. Excellent. I'll put that up. So, where do I want to go with this one? Okay. We've seen for the last while here for Planeswalker decks, and technically speaking for a lot of specialty decks for Magic that come out with sets that they're normally 2 or something. I think it's been a lot of years, even with the last couple of core sets, we didn't see 5 decks. And granted, in a way it fits with core sets, I feel but I don't know if this is there's only 2 shown here, but if you actually look up on Wizard's site under their when I was looking through their articles, my God, I am bad with English today. But I'm bad with English every week, aren't I?
Yes.
There reaches a certain point in time in our conversations where English goes out the window for me. It does. But yeah, other than previewing the core sets, we are seeing that they have these 5 decks. And I probably should put the link in the description for the 5 decks. It's one for every Planeswalker. I mean, I don't know if they're going to have all 5 of these Planeswalkers in the deck, though, because we've seen 3 already. And granted, they could, but I don't know. I'm curious as to if they will. And there's the Planeswalker decks, all 5 of them. There's just some curiosity I have about the entire thing. Because, if you would just see these 2, you'd think it's oh, it's Lana and who's the other one there? Tezzeret?
Tezzeret.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Neat. But they got a Johnny, Sarcum, and the new planeswalker they're introducing in the set. Vivian or something? No, it's a chick. Bobette. The female version. Roberta, okay. Oh, I forgot about Roberta completely. I'm going to have to use that on my Bob Empire in Stellaris when I'm fighting against Worm. I've been naming all... I'm the Bobs.
Oh, God.
And I've been naming all my planet different versions of Bob, so...
Is your world Bobbington?
I do have a... I don't have... They're all, like, actually just named. There's Bob, Big Bob, Little Bob, Bobby, Robert, Bobette.
You need Bobbington.
But is that a name like someone would actually have? It's supposed to be people's names.
No. But it's Bobbington just sounds cool.
Maybe then. If I get enough planets. But anyway, back to the topic at hand. Since we got off topic on Bob's. Man.
Bob's your uncle.
It's like, the part of me doesn't like this because, like, as the collector person, because each of these has a unique Planeswalker card you can only find within them. I'm kind of annoyed.
It gets you to have to buy the Planeswalker decks.
Yes, as the collector, because probably they'll still be cheaper than buying them individually, and they might have enough in them. I'll have to take a look if they really have enough in them. And most of the time, they do provide you with like a pack in them also.
Yeah.
So it's like they're like $10. They have a pack, which is normally like $4. So you're really spending $6 for a Planeswalker and a bunch of other cards. It's a pretty goddamn good deal usually for these Planeswalker decks, but now there's 5 of them.
Right.
Usually there's like 2 premium decks at most for most of these Magic sets, and like I'm like, I don't know, I'm just like really miffed about it a little bit that way on the collector side. It makes sense for the set, you know, one of each color. It's a core set, but I don't know. It rubs me this odd way, I guess. What do you think about them going this direction? That's something they haven't done for any set, let alone a core set, in quite some time, is have this many specialized, you know, starter packs.
I think it's a money grab.
Yeah.
I think it may, you know, it might be of, hey, how can we milk more out of a set?
Again,
offer special cards you can only get in these special packs.
Well, they've done that now for quite a while with these Planeswalker sets.
Right, but do that many of them?
Yeah. I feel like it's the money grab plus the themes. Because that's the thing about it. Previous ones, unless you want, like, the promo card, which was what it was, which some people, like me, I don't look to promos. I avoid promos like the plague with my collecting. I'm like, I don't worry about that end of it. Because those are special cards, those are hard to get. If you get them, great. If you don't, I want the core stuff. And that's, you know, that's just my end of the collector. And I understand there's people out there that want to do all the promos and stuff. Good on them. But, like, when it was just the promo things, I never got these. Because I didn't need to. With the Planeswalker coming out, decks come out, it all of a sudden was like, hey, guess what? You're spending an extra $20 on... if you want your collection complete, or the relative collection of what I do for a set of Magic. Because for me, it just used to be fat pack box, and I call it a day. But man, I am unhappy a little bit.
Back in our day,
this is a lot. It's a lot, and I feel like that's where it's hitting me. It's a lot of extra things. Like, again, part of me sees the theme of it. One for each color of Magic.
Right.
And it is a starter set, so it's supposed to be more beginner anyway. So it's supposed to be like, hey, cool, I can get into this. I'm getting my first Planeswalker of this color. Ooh. I'm getting this cool thing, you know.
No, and I get that too, but it does suck.
And I mean, none of the Planeswalkers are, like, ridiculous. Well, too much from, you know...
Other than being Planeswalkers.
Yes, which are a problem in and of itself. You know, there's unique... Planeswalkers, unfortunately, are very wide berth in the way that they are powered, I have to say, from our experience of them, too. There's those that are fairly well balanced, You know,
those that are really just bad, like there's no power.
yeah, and then there's those that are just kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
There's that one Jace that was in the original Zendikar block who got to be ridiculous amount of price, and I think he's still insanely expensive because he was really, really powerful.
Right.
You know, so So anyway, so why don't we move on to our final segments today? I don't want to dive deeper into this because it's like I don't know where necessarily I'd go by diving deeper into this one.
Yeah, it's like complaining about some Munchkin stuff, or it's just like we can bitch a lot, but let's not keep going there.
Yes, and also because I just looked through the planeswalkers that they have a variety of these decks, and most of them are fairly decent. And then there's like, I feel there's one that's a little off balance here that's we're talking about, but like there's this one here whose ultimate, like the Lana that's going to be as part of that's being shown on the picture on the thing, is destroy up to 2 creatures, put 2 creature cards from graveyards onto the battlefield under your control, and that's your ultimate. That's actually pretty balanced, pretty cool. She ticks up 1 to get target player loses 2 life, ticks down 1 for return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand. She doesn't feel too powerful. She feels maybe a little on the weaker side, but not too unbalanced. And then, of course, like you got one that gives creatures you control +4/+4 trample at the end of turn for a big upper one. That's cool. And then you have the one that you search your library for any number of dragon cards and put them on the battlefield to shuffle your library. And I feel like he's pretty easy to get to that one, unfortunately. Like, out of those 3, just going over those, the Sarkham Dragon Soul, I feel, is a little unbalanced in comparison. Because if you play a straight dragon deck, then fuck anybody over. You know, with that one there.
Right.
Anyway, but no. Let's move on. So we can move on to our regular segments that we have every week. So if you show up here after we talk about the news, we have 3 regular segments, and starting with them is the Kickstarter Korner, where we talk about a Kickstarter that we found somewhere, something that we feel like needs a little bit more shine on it. You're like, hey, maybe you guys should check this one out. It's kind of cool.
Or something we think that's cool.
Yeah, something that thinks it's cool. Joe, what do you have for us with this week for our Kickstarter Korner?
I have something cute.
Cute's fine.
There is Raccoon Tycoon.
All right, then.
Which was apparently funded in 24 hours.
I did see this one. This one does look kind of adorable.
Yeah. It's already at 43,525. The goal was 25,000. And it still has 18 days to go.
Cool.
So it's a basic commodities game. But with cute fuzzy animals.
Of course.
You have tycoons, dogs, bears, fat cats, sly foxes, and skunks.
Ooh.
Because, you know, who doesn't need a good skunk?
Yeah. True that one.
There's cards for different commodities, building tiles, money. But overall, I mean, looks like a good commodities game. Has a cute look to it. And the stretch goals are kind of interesting in some ways. Like, you know, they've gotten premium card stock, larger cards, extra thick tiles with a linen finish. Their next stretch goal is a larger box with a linen finish.
Okay.
Which I'm like, okay. Their 50,000 one is premium currency quality bills. Because they actually use, like, money in there.
Mm-hmm.
Game board, larger size with a linen finish. And then the 60,000 one is the most interesting to me. Actually, 3D wood commodities, which, you know, actually will be in the shape of the commodity it's for.
Ooh, neat.
Instead of just being a block.
That's cool.
But the ultimate one is the high quality vacuum form insert.
Neat. Cool. All right. So, for mine, I kind of was debating about a couple of them, and I eventually went with one that's actually still going, because the one I was originally going to do ended recently. But no, Black Wind Project. It's a plot-driven tabletop RPG, so it's very interesting that way. It's funded, 16 days to go, so if you want to get it, you could easily get it on it. And for 9, I think it's the C thingy. Is that pounds?
I have to see it. Give me a second. She didn't put a link.
Oh, sorry. Let me put the link. I forgot to do that. My bad. For 9
euros.
Euros. Okay. God,
That's an E.
Yeah. E thingy. All the core manual PDFs, all stretch goal PDFs, and name the credits for 9 euros, which is about $10. That's not bad for it. So what they're doing here is, rather than building like a setting, they're building a interesting system, and that's what they're advertising here, which is one of the interesting, which I think is why it's an interesting thing, is they're trying to develop a very interesting core system that focuses more on role playing. Is designed to be easy to understand, fun to play, lots of excitement, so you can do a lot of like things from like movies and novels and fit them into your story, kind of thing. It's like they want you to be able to do anything, so even weakest characters can be successful, and you're rewarded if you be successful. You're not immune to failure. Character death was supposed to draw a plot, so if your character should ever die, it should be pushed forward the plot, and they basically say, like, as a main protagonist you can die, but it should push the plot of the game. So it's like a lot of other problems, and I think in a lot of other role-playing game systems, is that like I could be in generic fight W, or like random battle A, and my character could die during it. Circumstances could lead to my character's death. And would that push the plot forward? No. Specifically, they're made to do that, like your characters definitely fit in as main characters in a story that your game master, or as I call it in this one, director, is putting forward. So it is supposed to be very movie oriented with how they're putting the plot together and doing it. They don't talk a whole lot about how they're building the system. They do have some YouTube videos and like things like that if you want to check out where they're going to. They have a cinematic trailer for a part of the Treasure of Monaco or something, which I think is like an adventure or something. It's a pirate themed module to it that they're working on with about 100 pages. So they're taking their system and they're putting a module with it, which is kind of neat. Cool. So no, it's pretty cheap. It's based around the system. It kind of seems neat, and it's funded. So cool. And it feels like, because it's a very open-ended serious system, it's not genre-based, which is another cool thing. And that's why I thought it was a little cool thing here, because it's based on that stuff. Anyway, cool. Why don't we move on then to our other final segments, because we always have a couple of them here. And let's talk about our week in tabletop. Joe, hey, how was your week in tabletop?
I'm trying to go back to let's see. Last Saturday, what did we do?
Yes, that was a wonderful game we played.
I don't remember what we played.
I don't remember either. But
it was short. Memory. I don't think we did. We didn't do much. I remember that.
Yeah. Man Bites Dog?
Yes, we did a few games of Man Bites Dog. Which, if you're not...
Was that the other week?
No, that was last week.
Because wasn't Colin with us last week?
No.
Yes, he was.
Oh, wait, he was.
That was the week before, was Man Bites Dog.
Oh, then what the heck was this one? I don't know.
I can make funny faces and think.
Apparently, it did not stick to the mind. So, Sunday, though, we did do Red Dragon Inn.
Yes, Red Dragon Inn. That was a fun one.
Which we got to try some. Well, I got to try a different character. You played the same ones you always
I'll do the next new character next time.
I got to play Pookie the rabbit.
Yes, that was very... Pookie was interesting. That game ended up very interesting, but with 2 new players, I know, like, you definitely... because Blaze is definitely not, like, very into it, because he doesn't play very often with us, so he's much newer than us. And then Unfunny One was completely new. So, yeah, definitely, there was a lot of learning to that game, but it was definitely fun the way that we went with it. And playing with a lot of the new stuff is definitely cool. So.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, I did a game during the week without you.
Yes.
With our friend Fallen Angel. We did the Wizard 80s Wizards heavy metal.
Oh,
I can never remember the name of it properly.
Yes, I know what you're talking about, and I can't.
I'll look it up. Give me 1 second.
All right then. Anything, and then we both, of course, role played on Thursday with Madness and Land, in which they explored lots of the castle. They got in a fight with a guy that was chained up.
And spiders.
And spiders.
Fire plus webs equals spiders.
When it's like a place that I like specifically described as being unnaturally filled with webs, and you're like, I'm gonna put a torch in there, and all the spiders swarm out at once.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So spider swarm, yay! But we found some cool stuff.
Yes, not with the spider swarm, but other places we did too. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And we're getting closer to leaving the castle for the first time.
Yes, you are. You probably will next time, unless some weird plot point you guys come up with happens.
And riding a giant mantis.
Well, that's nowhere near that.
I know. No, I'm just gonna find one and jump on its back.
And then it will, like, turn its head around all the way and eat you.
Nah, it'll be my best buddy.
Because mantises are creepy.
It'll be my best buddy.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so we played Epic Spell Wars.
Ah, yes, Epic Spell Wars.
But 1 and 2.
Ooh.
There's a sequel.
I think I only own the sequel.
Which is odd. Did the sequel have blood points?
I don't remember. It might.
Because the sequel has blood points.
What's the
sequel
called?
If yours has blood points, with oh god, give me a moment. Mm-hmm. That I have to look up because it just tells me there. It's like 1 and 2.
Yeah, because it's like it's got like a whole moniker. It's like Epic Spell Wars, and then it's got a whole moniker at the end.
That also has it for the first one too.
I know. Yeah. Good old Epic Spell Wars. I should bring that out at some point in time.
There's Battle for Mount Skullfire.
That's not the one I have.
And then where's the other one? Hold on. There we go. Battle for Wizards, Duel out Mount Skullfire, and then there's
Rumble at Castle Tentacle.
Rumble at Castle.
That is the one I have, so it has to have the blood. Yeah.
Okay.
That is Epic Spell Wars 2. So I own the second one, which you can play on its own, which is awesome. But if I have to someday get the first one and then combine them.
I thought you. Wow, I really thought you had the first one.
Nope, I got the Tentacle. So, like, when you mentioned the blood, I'm like, that is familiar, but I can't quite remember. But yes, so I think that's all we did. You discussed Sunday and Madness of the Land, and I didn't have Bastion Frontier this week, and I didn't do anything. Did I do something else? I might have done something else. Did I?
Did you have any other games? Role playing?
I think I did have that other. Did I? Yes. The weeks blend together really oddly. I've been really busy with some like weird stuff over the last couple of weeks, like in family stuff. So it's like they've been blending together very oddly in my brain. I think I did something Monday, but I can't remember what. Yay! It's like we can't remember what we did last Saturday for a game.
Back in our day, our memory was much better.
Oh my god, my memory was much better. My memory was never much better. Are you kidding me?
I'm joking.
I know, my memory's always been bad.
My memory was much better.
Yours might have been. Mine has always been bad. Anyway, yeah. I think that was the... Yes, I believe I did a little bit of the Epic game that I was finishing up. That I have like a couple sessions up with people online. That the Pathfinder one. I think I mentioned it before. I don't know. It's not Mythic. It's Mythic. Yes. Mythic Pathfinder. I think I did that. What did we do? I don't remember what we did. I don't think we did anything important if we did that. I remember we stole treasure from a two-headed space dragon. Yes. Uh-huh. And then before we were going to kill it because it knocked itself out, because someone was using the Pathfinder supplemental, the like critical and fumble decks, decks. You can get that online on Roll20 or not Roll20, the PSFRD. You used to be able to do it where you could click the button and it would do it. Anyway, it knocked itself out. Anyway, and before we were going to kill it, a vortex dragon that we were friends with came and was like, "Hey, don't kill it. It's my ex-mate," and I still kind of like him. And we're like, and he's like, I'm just gonna hang out with him now. You can take some stuff here. Good luck. Thank you. Bye. So we beat up our friend's boyfriend, ex-boyfriend. And I don't know what we're gonna do in that game ever. That game I really wanted to end, but like we have to like put the plot into a point where we can end it, and we're really bad as a group to do that. So.
It's a never-ending story.
God damn it is! Oh my god! I just want that one to end. And because it's sort of like we got back to it after like 6 months. And we're never gonna end it. Anyway, that's complaining. So, final segment.
And mumbling.
Yeah. Complaining and mumble complain. Mumble complain. Consult the table. If you guys have any questions for us, ever about anything kind of nerdy, role-playing related, tabletop related, CCG related, Magic the Gathering, you can continue to do it with things like just like movies, comics, TV shows. We're willing to talk about all that crap and talk with you about it. You can, of course, reach us here by just showing up and being like, hey, ask a question in chat right now. You can also email us at discussingtabletop@yahoo.com for asking questions there, and we'll answer it on the show. You can leave it to us on any of our Twitters, just at us, and we'll probably pick it up. You can, on my Discord, you can leave it there, or Worm's Discord, he can pick it up there. Or you can leave it in the comments of this when it becomes up on YouTube as a YouTube video.
You can technically leave it on my Discord, too.
Well, that's a direct message to you.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You can direct message me.
Yeah, on Discord. Or, like, as I said, on my actual, just, like, Discord on the main page, you can be like, hey, I got a Discussing Tabletop question. Or I think, actually, on my Discord, I have an entire section for Discussing Tabletop. So you can just leave it there. There is a Discussing Tabletop discussion section that you can just leave stuff in.
He lies.
I'm going to point and squint at you. Anyway, yeah. So that's it. That's it for today. So thank you everyone who joined us, who's going to check out the VOD later on when this comes up there. We're going to be back next week, and hopefully Worm will be able to rejoin us after a couple weeks off, after a week of having some problems, and then a week of being at a convention.
And then something will happen to me, and it'll be just you two.
Oh my god, the two of you are ships of the night that never shall meet. It really has been really bad.
We're actually the same person, just in disguise.
That makes sense. Though, what about those weeks that both of you were around?
Puppet.
One of you is a puppet, but we don't know which.
Yes.
Anyway, so thank you for joining. Thank you for joining me, Joe. If there's anything you want to specifically pimp out.
You.
Yeah, figured. It's what you do. Worm, you can always check him out on his YouTube or his Twitter channel, Diamond Worm at Twitch. He's got his own Discord linked on his Twitch channel. His his Twitter is linked down below with his @ there. where you can find him. I'll be back on his channel theoretically on Wednesday for Bastion Frontier, Madness of the Land on Thursday. Joe will be with me with Madness of the Land. Both of us, at very least, will be up for Sundays at the Tabletop tomorrow evening. That's
yes.
We'll play some tabletop games, and I'll be back tomorrow morning, theoretically, in the forest. And I will let people know I have moved back the event I'm going to do for my 1,000 subscribers. I have not figured out which Saturday, whether it's going to be, or Sunday, whether it's going to be the Sunday after this one or the one after that one. I have to put some things together, and as I said, my week has been very busy, kind of been filled up, been hard to get some things scheduled, and that's why I had to push it back, Okay. But I will be having a long Switch streaming event for my 1,000 subscribers coming up next couple of weeks. Hopefully by then, YouTube will be like, hey, I recognize that you have 1,000 subscribers. Because when I look at it, it's like, we're considering that and thinking about that. You should know in a couple of days. That was like 2 weeks ago. Up yours, YouTube. They're really bad. I mean, they eventually will. They'll eventually do it. They'll eventually do it. Good on them. I've qualified for weeks now. I don't care. It might even be next month before they actually say, like, hey, we recognize this. You can get monetization back after forever. Anyway, enough. I can complain all day about YouTube and some of the problems that they've caused for me, but hey, they're my main channel. So, anyway, thank you for joining. Hope to see you next week where we'll talk about more interesting topics. Maybe I'll try to get a guest that went to GP Vegas, since they had that, which is the big event. And, you know, they had it. I'll see how different it was being yearly rather than every other year, since that's the closest to a convention of GPs you can have right now for Magic the Gathering cons.
Right.
It's still a tournament, but it's pretty close to a convention. So I do want to kind of maybe grab someone to talk about that. We'll see about that. I'll ask around. But anyway, thank you for joining. We'll see you all here next week. And goodbye, everybody. Goodbye.